Already joined. Thank you. So thank you and welcome. This is our first presentation out of four that we're going to do that shows workflows between pollination plugins and other building performance simulation tools. I imagine you guys all know about eQuest. That's why you're here. So we're not going to talk about eQuest much, but we're mostly going to show the pollination side of things. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's pollination and then get to pollination cat plugins and live demo. And we should have a good amount of time for Q&A at the end. But if you have any questions during the presentation, I have the chat open here so you can just post them. And for the ones that I can just answer right away, I will. For the ones that I cannot, we can wait until the end of the presentation. Okay, with that, what's Pollination? Pollination is an ecosystem of tools for environmental building design and simulation. It's built by the same team who are behind Ladybug Tools. We are maintaining both projects and they are complementary. So Ladybug Tools is our open source project and Pollination is the commercial product that we're building. The main reason that we built Pollination is to solve this problem, the what we call the 2-week workaround problem that you have, designer and engineer or architect engineer or architect building performance specialist. There's a deadline, and then you have this disconnect that there will be a design developed on the architecture side, send the whole model. It's a Revit model, a 2D drawing, and you know the person is out, and then this time spent for redrawing the whole model from scratch, which is the part that we will talk about today, and then the time to run the study, send the stuff back usually in a PDF report, and then you usually at this point the design has already changed. So, you know, like, and the model has been updated that you had to ignore during the process. And we go through this cycle over and over and over. So to solve that, we have developed several products. We have the CAD plugins, we have Pollination apps, and we have Pollination cloud computing. Today, we'll focus on CAD plugins. And if we don't even talk about the Grasshopper one, so it's mostly about Rhino and Revit plugins. If you want to know more, you can go to Pollination website and learn about the other products that we have there. So, okay, let me answer the burning question that I know many people ask, and you might be here for that. Can I export my Revit model to eQuest directly from Revit without using Rhino and Grasshopper? The answer is yes. And that's what I'm going to show you first before doing anything else so we can get this thing over and then we can get to the rest of presentation. So I'm going to show you the first option that you have that you can export directly from Revit to eQuest. Okay, let's go here. So this is Revit Advanced Revit Sample Model. I'm not going to talk about how the plugin works. We have video tutorials about that, but I'm just going to show you the process. So I click on Export Model. There are settings here where the rooms want to be. How do I want to export? What's the phase? Then in next step, I select the apertures, like either windows or curtain walls, the ones that I want to be exported as apertures. Then it's another step for doors, selecting doors. Next here, I have selected all the floors, set the extrusion height based on the floor to ceiling height, and then computational height. And I'm exporting all the rooms. So this can change. You can use the spaces or areas, but I'm going to use rooms in this case. Next step, you can actually select just to export part of the model. In this case, I'm going to export everything. Then step 6, it basically goes and parses all the geometries from the rooms. And someone wants to join. Um, and once you have that, you can, if you want, you can visualize everything here. I have already made some fixes, but again, that's not part of what I want to show here. So once you have that, it's usually good to view your model inside Revit before exporting. So to make sure everything looks as expected. First time it will take a while because it loads all the libraries. Uh, One thing to know is for this model, I'm just exporting everything together. But my suggestion is if you're working, and you will see that in our video tutorials, just do it story by story. So you can see the possible errors that can happen, and then you can basically fix them as they come. So let's give it a few seconds, and then the model should show up. Is there any questions for me so far? Okay, no. Great. It looks like everything is hopefully clear. So this is the model here that you can see. So it looks good, right? I have the skylights. I have all the apertures that I want. I can validate the model here. There are two different validations, and this is critical. You want to make sure your model is valid before exporting it. If it's not, it will show you the errors that you can fix. Again, not going to go there today for this presentation. Next step is for selecting shades, which I have already selected. And from here, there are sensor grids, which is not important for eQuest, so I'm not going to talk about them today. And finally, I can select everything, and I can export them to different file formats, including eQuest using INP. So I'm going to select this. This is the place. Of course, I have selected before, but I'm going to just rename this to advanced sample. So we can open this file and press save. And it will take a few seconds, and then we will have the INP file created. Okay, so this is a model with 102 rooms. So again, it took a few seconds. So here is eQuest. I go open. I had another model open, but I go to the place that I saved the file, change this to INP, advanced sample, which I just exported, open, don't save the change, and call it advanced sample. It's okay, and press OK. And in a few seconds, eQuest should start reading it. Is it possible for Design Builder as well? Yes, we have a video for that. You have to use GBXML, so we can't guarantee everything, but we are working with the Design Builder team. They have developed a format called DBXML, and not GB. And with that, we should be able, similar to this other platforms, guarantee 100% quality. Okay, here you go. This is the model. All the room names are here. Level 1, then I can go to level 0, sorry, level 1, level 2, all the shade objects. I can go to 3D, and you can see the 3D model here. I want to uh, talk about two options that I will talk during the presentation, but um, this is one that you can see we had some non-rectangular apertures. These are taken care of. There is a challenge here. This model in Revit is not actually extruded, but because we used extruded mode, it came in as extruded. But otherwise, you see the model is here. It's fine. You saw during the import, I got no errors. So everything is good. Um, so hopefully I answered your first question. You can export directly from Revit if you want. Um, if you have any questions, please type during the presentation, and then I can answer them as we go. And this was the model that we got. Now, what's Revit plugin? So the Revit plugin is basically designed and developed for addressing this issue. What's the issue? The issue was before Pollination, if you want to export something from Revit, your option is GBXML, and it's usually not the quality that you really want. We even tried to do this like before Pollination several times, and one of the projects was Dinosaur, which basically was a way to force Autodesk to fix this thing, because this should not even exist. Uh, uh, in like in this issue shouldn't even exist if you have a beam model. But unfortunately, no one is going to fix that, so we fix it. So after pollination, this is what you get. If you have a valid model, so I see a question here, what are the Revit model requirements to successfully export the model to eQuest? Get a pollination valid model. And a valid model means the geometry is valid, the rooms are placed correctly, the apertures are included. We have like a list of validation. I can actually talk about that a little bit more when I do the next live demo. But if you have a model valid, they guarantee that the model will go fine in eQuest. There is only one limitation that I will show. If that doesn't happen, we'll fix it. That we consider that a bug and we'll fix it. Can you show the Revit in eQuest 3ds side by side? Yes. I mean, I can. Give me 1 second. I have a screenshot of that, but I can also show that. So the plugin has been around now more than about 2 years, and it's not. I know like a lot of people, and the reason I put this, I know a lot of people are skeptical because how Revit GBXML works. This one is to just code query is a breath of fresh air, and we do not use any of built-in Revit analytical models. We basically rewrote the whole routine to export the model from scratch. So we don't rely on how Revit exports an analytical model. But it's not a magical workflow, and I think that can answer what Bilal asked. So we give you a lot of no magic features to tell Revit which parts of the model needs to be exported and how they need to be exported. And that will save you a lot of time. So how does it work? One is we allow you to tell which part of the model are apertures, right? And which material even should be considered as glass. So we can filter to that level. We support rooms, spaces, and areas. So if you're in during different period of the model, if you have rooms, you can use rooms. If you have spaces, you can use the spaces. If you want to draw areas or you have areas that you want to use as the base of the zones, you can use those. So we have flexibility on that. We let you export partial model. So you don't have just to like export everything as it was with Revit. So you can just select part of the model that you're interested and export it quickly. We also allow you to have different modes for extracting model. So this is the what we call full volume. And to get a full volume model correct, you have to make sure the volume of the rooms in Revit are correct. And sometimes that's a lot of work. What you can do instead, you can actually use the extruded mode that quickly, like just extrudes the room boundary or area boundary, and then cleans up all the apertures for you. And that's what I used for the Revit sample model that I just showed, which needs minimum cleanup. So depending on your model and what you want, you have different options. And of course, you can mix them. So in this model, the first floor is extruded. The one on the top is a full volume model. And I know like a lot of you would say the models are not clean, when they come, and do we need to redraw everything? No, you do not need to redraw everything. You need to do some fixing, you need to do some cleanup, as I said, it's not magical, but we have workflows and tools to help you during the process. One of the examples is this alignment one that you can basically draw lines and tell Revit, these are the alignment lines that I want my rooms to be aligned to, and then it automatically cleans the model. So if you have something like this, and then you have alignment to areas, you can get from there to here, all automatically. You don't have to do all the. So another question that we get asked is there a limitation for the number of room zones that are exported to eQuest, or generally speaking, exported using pollination plugins? No, there is no limitation. So this is another example with 250 rooms. We have done models with thousands of rooms that you can export them. You can build them either in Revit or Rhino and export them to all the platforms, including eQuest. Um, Next question is, I don't know Revit. Can I still use Pollination to export my model to eQuest? And the answer to this one is yes, and glad that you asked. So the other way of preparing your models for eQuest is to go from Rhino and do it in Rhino. So, but before I go to do a live demo for fixing that model in Rhino, let me answer to some of the questions that we have here. Can you show the Revit model and eQuest 3ds side by side? I don't know if I can do side by side because it will be very small. But and you know what? Like so, this is this, but I can do this and try to rotate the model. So, and what we'll do, and I have a slide for that. We will share all the models that we exported during this workshop on GitHub, so you can download the models, download the IMP files, and play with them on your end. So yeah, that's what I got, and this is what you get in eQuest. So the thing that has changed are two things. One is this one is exported as extruded, but in Revit it has a roof. It's not extruded, and this is something that I'm going just to fix right now in Rhino. The other one is the skylights are not actually extruded. They have a geometry, but because I use extruded mode, we are projecting the skylights on top of the roof. So you can see here, these are not in 3D. Those are the two differences between the model that I got from Revit and the model that I have in eQuest. What's the next question? I talked about the requirement of the model. Can we make a bigger Revit model and please share the presentation? We will share the presentation link after we will email you the link to the presentation. So you can see that. Larger Revit models, you can just, I have models, as I said, we have dealt with models with 1,000 rooms, but I don't think they're good for doing a live workshop because it takes longer to parse all the models. But I hope this gives you a sense of, we don't have a limitation on the number of the rooms. That shouldn't be a problem. Will the recording be available? Yes. How do you control core perimeter zoning, or is every Revit room exported as one single eQuest zone? A very good question. So if you select rooms as the source, every single room will be exported. If you want to have the perimeter zonings, there are two solutions. One is to draw areas in Revit, basically draw them as areas in Revit and export the areas. The other one is to draw a single area in Revit for the whole perimeter, and then come to Rhino. And in Rhino, there is a command that basically creates that perimeter core for you. So that's another way to do that. I have a GBXML format. How do I convert it to IMP file? I love that question. So I recorded a few. I'll show you. So the way to do it is import the GBXML file to Rhino, fix the model in Rhino, and then export it to IMP uh, from Rhino. And there is a tutorial for using an OSM file, which is very similar. And there is another one for using ISVE gem file, which is also similar. How does the plugin combine all the rooms or understands that the adjacent room is the same space type? Okay, so the plugin does not understand the space type. You have to tell it the space type, right? You have to assign it. We do not export that information to eQuest right now, but I can show you in Revit. So there are two things. One is you can set the program type here. So for every space or all the space, the program type is something that you set in the plugin if you want to export. If you do not set it in, if you don't want to set it in eQuest, you can set it here in Revit. For solve adjacency, in a step 6, I didn't talk about it, but there is a setting here that you set what's the solve adjacency. And here I set the solve adjacency to full, which means it will solve the adjacency between all the faces, and it understands that automatically. You can set it to none. For some of the other software, we don't need solve adjacency, or you can set it to wall only, which in that case, it will set the boundary condition between the places to adiabatic. So here, just to check if it worked, I can go here and let's select this room. You see all this set to interior, all the walls, or I can go and do this 3D view, turn off roofs, close, um, and you see all this set to interiors, the white one. So it does the solve adjacency, and it automatically sets which face is next to which space. Even let me show you my great equals to scales. Um, where is it? That surface properties next to here. So it's already set that this is next to the room 321 is there, which should be correct, right? This is next to this staircase here. Um, a lot of questions. I love it. Thank you. I have GBX. I answered that. How does the plugin compose? Okay, we talked about that. Does it support ASHRAE 90.1 2016 design builder except for the interoperability? So, Alessandro, those questions are very generic. They're not eQuest related questions. I think we can discuss those on the forum. But yes, we have. Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, but we have the standards for ASHRAE 90.1. And there are several reasons that you can I would prefer Pollination, but that's a different discussion because it's not here. This one is not about Pollination Design Builder. Please share the video link how to convert the GBXML to INP. Sure, it's on all. We don't have GBXML one. If you want to send it to me, I can actually make a video tutorial on that. But I'll the link to the videos for the other ones is in the presentation, so you can go and watch them. Okay, so all these questions. Thank you so much. So let me go back and go here to the presentation slide. Is there anything that I missed, Chunky? No. Um, so here, where was I? We did all this up to here, this one. So yes, I'm going to show you this. So if you are not great in Revit, or if you don't want to edit the model in Revit, for example, in this case, I didn't spend a lot of time for fixing this one in Revit. So I can do that quickly in Rhino. So what I can do, I can go to Rhino. I can open a new instance of Rhino to show everything from scratch. Then I can come to Revit and this time um, go to all the way here. And instead of going directly to IMP, right, to eQuest, I can save it as what we call honeybee model or HBJSON. And I already have one here, but I'll just save the new one and I rename it. So this will be, oops, advanced sample HBJSON. So again, it takes a few seconds and it will be exported to HBJSON. So HBJSON is the interoperability format that we use internally for everything pollination and also Ladybug tools. So now I can go here, Control O, go to this folder, and this is the HBJSON that I imported, right? I'm not going to run the validation. Maybe I can. If there is any validation error, it should pop up. If the model is valid, then I won't see anything. So you can see it reads all the rooms in. So everything that I assigned if I assigned anything in Revit, it's coming back here. So I didn't assign program types, so they're empty. I didn't like the construction says as default, you see a story and everything. So now this is a full analytical model, right? Which means I can just edit the stuff here and then export them to eQuest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fix the roof of this space here. So to do that, there is a command in Rhino called a split. I'm going to use a split or actually I should use a split face. So I'm going to select this face to split. And one of the reasons that I'm showing you this is I know a lot of people are very kind of like frightened by something like Rhino and 3D when you mostly have done energy modeling in 2D environments. So we have a lot of commands to make it easier in Rhino. But at the same time, when you get used to Rhino, it just opens up a new, you know, a new, what should I say, a new world to you, a new world of opportunities. There are things that you couldn't and you wouldn't be able to do in the other software that you can do much faster in Rhino. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to move this edge downward. And to do that, I'll let me first do a distance to see um, how much I should bring it down. Distance between here and here. So 258, what does I do? 2.6, right? So I'm going to move edge, and then I'm going to select this edge. And we have video tutorials on how to edit all this stuff in Rhino. So I'm going to do 2.6. Is it what I said? Oh, I should have done minus 2.6. So move edge here, here. Sorry, give me a second. Minus 2.6. And here we go. So the model is here. I can see all this. One other thing I'm going to do, because now I changed this, I have to run the solve adjacency. So the adjacency between this room and that room uh, gets updated. So I do PO solve adjacency, and I'm going to select this room and maybe like I'm selecting both of this, right? Okay, and then press the space. What it does, it basically runs solve adjacency. So it split all the faces and everything that needs to be done. One other thing that I'm going to do here, just to keep it more interesting, is and to show you a little bit more of Rhino plugin, is this has shades that comes out, right? But those faces are not currently here in the model. So what I can do, I can extrude this edge for, let's say, 2 feet and create a shade here and create another shade there. So the way to do that is there is a command called extrude curve in Rhino. So I select this edge as a curve. Then I set the direction from here to here, right? Because that's the direction that I want. And then I extrude it for 2 feet. So and this is the geometry that I created. So let me actually make this shaded. Maybe it's easier for everyone to see. Okay. So this is the one that I just created. Then I'm going to mirror this from here, and I get the shade on the other side. So these are now Rhino geometry. So I have to change them to Pollination geometry. And to do that, I'm going to click here and add them as building shades. Press enter, and now there should be shades here. So let me see. You can see they're colored as shades. That's how I know. And now I can take this model and save it as an INP file, right? So eQuest here in Rhino and advanced sample, but this time I'm going to call it from from Rhino and save. And again, it takes a few seconds and we will get the model from Rhino. What air side and plant side system gets exported? We don't do any HVAC at this point. It's only geometry. So what I'm going to show you today is geometry and construction and boundary conditions, but we have not done any HVAC translation. So we are trying to solve the geometry problem first, which is a major problem. Um, we'll get to those later on. Like I have a slide for that. So let me go here, file, open the new one. So I export it here, INP, and from Rhino. There's no. So Bilal says understood, but how does eQuest UI looks for these two tabs? I don't know. I'll click on it when it loads. You you're overestimating my eQuest skill sets. I just wanted to make sure you get the geometry in with no errors and no warnings, or maybe warnings are fine, but no errors. Um, so we resolve that. We can get to all the metadata later. Um, So give it a second and let me go to 3D. I already showed you all that. So now you can see in a few minutes, basically, I could fix this. I don't know how hard or easy it is. I think it should be really hard to do this edit in eQuest or time consuming. So you can quickly do this and you can actually do much more because you're in Rhino and you have access to Grasshopper. So this is the one that I imagine you want to see. So this is what I get, air side and water side. And this is something that we can use some feedback, like what do you want? Because that's the area that you will see in our next steps that we are looking forward to do. What can make your life easy. So, okay, this was option two. Do I have a full screen of this that you can do? So we worked on the Revit to eQuest. We worked on the Rhino to eQuest, and this is what we did. We improved it, but we can also do everything in Rhino. Bilal, is it okay to wait until the end? I will have the model open so we can answer all the questions there. So for Rhino, so what is Rhino? Rhino is, and I agree with Justin, is the best tool for generating building performance analysis geometry. If you model in any other tools, which I have done myself, this is just faster, easier, and more reliable. Again, it's not Revit, and we understand if you want to come from Revit, but you can, as I showed, bring the geometry in Revit. You can deal with any large complex model. We have a decent validation routine that can show you all the errors that can happen in your model before they become a problem. So you can deal with those. We have issues that, for example, like if you have faces that are very close, but they're not touching, so you can see them before they become an issue. And when Solid JCC doesn't find them, even if you have a GBXML, let's say, that you bring in and all these apertures are out and all over the place, we have commands like PO offset child objects that quickly fixes them so you don't have to redraw them. There are, yeah, this is another one to fix all these apertures that are like broken into everything. So there is a command. This is a very recent command for rebuilding door apertures that basically takes them and cleans them up for you, like this one. Then we have commands for these issues that are very common in larger models, especially they're coming from Revit. Again, as I told you, you can fix them inside of Revit by drawing guidelines, but it's much easier to bring them sometimes in Rhino. So this is one command that we call PO align in plan. So it's similar to the one in Revit. You basically draw the lines that you want the rooms to be aligned to. And now you see, like, I basically select the rooms, then select the alignment line that I drew, and all these edges that they were problems, they will be resolved. Then let me go to next. Then you have this command that basically align to room. So if you have, for example, a hallway and you have all these rooms around them, right, that have all these ducts and the small gaps or edges because you had like walls with different thicknesses, then they will be fixed in one click. They basically you go to to get the clean one. And this is the now currently my favorite, which we added very recently, that basically it lets you remove all these short segments altogether. So you run the command, you select all the rooms, and then you see that magenta lines are showing what the room will be after the fix. So I say like remove everything that is shorter than 3 feet, and you apply, and it's feet because the model is feet. If it's modeled in meters, it's really meters, and then it will clean it up for you. So Rhino is not only have all these commands to create, but it has all the commands to fix. So you can get from here to here in 15 minutes. And this is without that PO um, remove short segments. Again, I agree here, a brutal quality of life enhancement, over Open Studio, or you only use Grasshopper with Ladybug tools. I don't compare it even with eQuest. So can I create a model in Rhino from scratch? Because I showed you Revit, I showed you editing model in Revit, and the answer is yes. So you can also start drawing everything from scratch in Rhino. We have all the commands to draw a room, edit faces, edit a boundary condition. So basically you can go directly from Rhino to eQuest if you want. And you can go as crazy as this. So I'm not going to do a live demo of creating the whole geometry for you, but I'm going to show it to you that you can basically draw every single space that you have. You can draw all the shades, you can draw all this complex geometry if you want, as long as they are planar, the faces are planar, and there are several ways to make them planar in either Rhino or Grasshopper. So for this one, again, as I said, I'm not going to do it live because that will take a good amount of time, but we have a video tutorial that shows the process for all these platforms, including what's called including eQuest, right? And the video is on YouTube. Again, like you can play when we share the link to the presentation, or you can just search it on YouTube, Pollination, and you should be able to. Oh, no, we are not going to watch this. Okay. Next question. Question about GBXML that you just asked. Can I translate existing Energy Plus and Open Studio models to eQuest models? Yes, you can do Energy Plus, eQuest, IDEs, and if you have any not IDI, sorry, IES, and if you have GBXML. Again, the video is online. I'll just show it for a model, how to bring it from Open Studio, clean it up and validate it inside Rhino, and then export it to eQuest and IES. And again, the link to the video is also here for you when we share it. Next question, can I import eQuest models back into Rhino using Pollination? This is the first one. No, you can't do that. So we don't have the feature to go back from eQuest to Rhino or Pollination. We only have one-way integration for now that you can go from Pollination to eQuest. Does the plugin export non-rectangular apertures to eQuest? The answer is yes, it does. I don't know if you noticed. I think I mentioned that. So what it does, it basically takes them and makes them into smaller rectangles. This value right now is set to half a feet by default. This is something that we can expose to change if you want to change. But yeah, right, for now it's set to a default half a feet that we saw worked for most of the models. Next question, can I export rooms with holes to eQuest directly? So this is unfortunately the only limitation that we have that is not automatically fixed in geometry when I said there is a limitation, but you can fix it quickly in Rhino. So if you export a model like this directly, you will get an error that says two vertices are identical because we try to draw a polygon that goes around and goes inside, right? But the fix is easy. You can basically trim the geometry to create a small gap there, and then set those two faces to be adiabatic. And then after that, you can export it to eQuest. And by the way, this is how eQuest sample model does. Like if you make a model with Courtyard, that's how they model it. So basically, we are copying what they're doing there. Is there a trial period to test it with our models? So these models were good, but if you want to test it, yes, we have 14 days trials both for Rhino plugin and Revit plugin. You can test them as you want. And thanks, but can I get more help? You can always get more help. You can always reach out to us. We have helped several offices to basically gain the trust. I know this interoperability has been a topic that, a product comes in once in a while and say we solved it, and then they don't. So we're here to help you with all this. And as long as you have a valid Honeybee model, again, the model should be exported to eQuest with no issues, except for that hole that I just showed. And that's something that we can probably automate at that point, at some point. So where should you ask your questions? Pollination Discourse forum is to ask all your questions. It's pretty active already if you haven't been on it. The address is discourse.pollination.cloud. You can ask all your questions there. Can I download and review a sample IMP file that's generated by Pollination? Yes, you can download all of them. I already have all the Sydney Opera House ones on GitHub. I will upload all the files that we generated during this workshop, also during this presentation, also to the same place, so you can go and download them. So if you don't want to download all the plugins and you just want to see how the IMP file looks like, you can do all that. And one thing is with what we have with the trial period and everything that I showed today, except for that command that we have to make a new release for the Rhino plugin, everything is out there. You can just go download, play around with it. You don't have to wait for anything. There was nothing that it's behind the gate or something. Just download the plugin and start playing around. You should be able to do everything that I did today. If you want to learn more, there are two upcoming workshops, and both of them, they have virtual options. So if you want to learn more about the Revit plugin and the Rhino plugin, we will spend a lot of time in the workshop talking about typical issues that you will see in a Revit model, how to fix them quickly, how to export, what are the things that you will watch before exporting the model. We will do the same with Rhino. We'll include a little bit more of running simulation too in the workshop. So it's not only about cleaning up geometry, but a good portion of the workshop is about like how to export a valid model to other platforms, including eQuest. We will add more information on LinkedIn. If you don't follow us on LinkedIn, find us on LinkedIn, Ladybug Tools, and follow us there. We will add more information, or you can go to the website. They already have the workshops up. What else? Next steps. We have to improve exporting materials and constructions. This is something that we already have, but it hasn't been, I should say, tested enough. It works. You saw we had no issues with the sample models, but I'm interested to see what happens with more custom materials or constructions. Support exporting schedules and loads. That's something that we're already working on and should be available soon. So you get the schedules and loads that you have in your model in Pollination exported. I didn't put anything here for HVAC because I think that's far-fetched, but I'm looking forward to hear more of how do you want the model to be set up for you to work with it easily and quickly in eQuest. I want to thank Trevor. If you don't know what this thing means, it's the um contributions on GitHub, and he has been really fundamental for this to happen. And he has been very patient with all the iterations that we went through to get it to work. So thank you so much. I know you're on this call. Uh, yeah, a lot of love. I don't think we had the courage to go and deal with eQuest. At least I didn't. So yeah, we have this connection because of him. Thank you. And thank you all for joining. So we have a good 15 minutes additional also to answer questions. And thank you for all the questions. This is one of the most engaging that we had so far. Um, okay, I tried to answer. I saw Chris, John Key, and Mingbo already helped. And maybe
I think we're at curves. So can you talk a little bit about how curves can go from Revit and Rhino?
sure, sure. We have a post for that. So the way it works is when you get here in the first step, there is an arc subdivision length. So you can see here by default it's set to 2. And what it does, if there is a curve, it will subdivide it to smaller pieces. So let me show you. I don't think we made the announcement yet, right? It's already released, so you can already play with it, but I can also show you some graphic here, and I have a hard time to get to stuff. So now you will see all our upcoming announcement, which is great. But here, exporting models with curved walls. So this is how it is. So that's a single room. You can see this is for different controls, I think, starting from 6, 4, 2, and 1. So you can see you can get as close as you want. The other solution, if you want to get very accurate, is you can draw an area and do it like, from center to center. That gives you exactly like as close as possible to the original geometry. So that's what you can do from Revit to deal with curved faces. What are the other questions? Bilal, yes, sure. Like you can unmute yourself and
Yeah,
ask your question.
if I may, Mustafa and the
Sure.
team, thank you so much for doing this. It's a big helper to import geometry. My question about the HVAC wasn't necessarily about modeling HVAC systems, but my comment is eQuest is very inefficient when you want to assign and reconfigure systems to zones. So I would like advice flash ask, can we, as part of the export settings, have the user select whether you want all zones to have a system per site, system per floor, or system per zone? Because like I said, we're saving time on the geometry end, but that would add a lot of stress on the HVAC assignment end. It's just, inherent in eQuest. So I would just provide that.
Right. That's great. Can we continue? I mean, either email me or on Discord so to give us a better understanding, because I think, again, you're overestimating how much I understand eQuest. Like I don't. And I think, so just give us more of either sample models and say these are like 3 and this is what you said, because we have full control. So it's very possible to do that. So if you want to do like per story, or even you can group them if you want. So the other thing maybe I should show, and I saw someone ask. So the other step is, so let's say on the third floor, right? You just say all this. Let me change this to shaded, right? Okay, so it's easier. So you want to say, all this one, this one, this one, and this one. They have the same program. They have the same HVAC. You don't want them to be different rooms. So yes, you could have set this up in Revit by drawing an area or something. But even if you don't do that, you can come in Rhino and do PO merge rooms. And oh, this command doesn't like my pre-selection for some reason. So I can go, sorry, I'll just go here. I'm going to select this one. Oh, because you have to select the first one and then merge it with the rest. Sorry. So you select the first one because it wants to know where to get the programs and all those. And then when I do this, what will happen is it will just merge them together. So now you see that 3, 4 rooms that I had is now changed to a single room. So you can also do this. So you can simplify your model inside Revit. I agree that it will be easier if there is a way to automate that, to just like say tag it, or I don't know what you do in eQuest for eQuest to understand these are all together. Yes, I'm very interested to understand that and implement it to make your life easier. Any other questions that we have here?
So the question from Jackson about a previous video. There's a
Okay. Or should I read it? I saw there was a limitation for models that were not built orthogonally, or the geometry was built with rotation and opposed to simplifying. So no, that's not, okay, so let me be clear. The only limitation was if you have a skylight and it is rotated, that skylight will not be exported correctly. And that, no, we haven't spent time on that because I don't think it's really a major issue. If you think it's a major one, we can work on it because of like how eQuest does. But they don't need to be orthogonal, like they can be in any direction. And actually that sample model was not orthogonal. So if you want, to rotate this whole thing, oh, actually I don't need to do that, right? Here, this is not orthogonal, and this was exported to eQuest without any issues. So the only limitation that we have is if you have something like this, and then there is a skylight, because of how eQuest works with X and Y, that skylight will be rotated to be orthogonal. Again, from my end, that's not a very, like important issue. But if you think it is, let us know, and we can fix it. We can do just some additional math to fix it, but yeah, it was not on top of the list. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Anything that I missed, or anything else that you want me to show? Yeah, PO merge rooms, I already showed that.
I think Abdul's question got lost in the mix there. He was just asking, using Revit, can we export to GBXML? I don't know if there's something more
Yes.
specific about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, you can. Again, the challenge with GBXML, so we export a clean GBXML if your model is clean, right? But then depending on the software that you will use to import it, it may go through well, it may not go through well. We cannot guarantee other software to deal with GBXML correctly. So that's the limitation. But can you export to GBXML? Yes, you can. You absolutely can. So everything is the same. And probably I should have opened a smaller file so we don't wait for this. But at the last step, instead of export to IMP or export to HPJSON, you can just export to what's that, GBXML. Okay, another very good question. So let me get, I'll answer that. So here you go. So I just go here, 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 and then select everything, right? You can click here, press Control A, and export to GBXML. And it will export a clean GBXML. Again, it's clean, it's valid, but it depends on the software that you're using. Some software do better than the other in importing GBXML. But why do you need GBXML? I'm interested to know, why would you need GBXML? What's the software? Is it, if it's because of Design Builder, we will support DBXML at some point. If it's because of any other software, let us know. So like Devanshi has a question here. We are seeing hundreds of windows exported. Is there a way to simplify that? Absolutely. And that's a good one. If you're not interested in the geometry, in all the details in the geometry, so you go here. So you see there is a geometry calculation, and there is another one for window calculation. So you can make it simple ratio instead of detailed. And then when you do a simple ratio, let me just do one level so we can do a quick visualization. Level 2. And let's just do all the parsing.
While that's pulling up, if you can also talk about the type of glazing properties that get transferred over.
So whatever construction that you have gets translated to eQuest. So it's not based on U value, if that's the question, because what I've seen, there are two ways that I know of. It's the one that has different layers. Trevor can correct me here if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. Again, like if you provide an example of what you want and what you want to see, like here you go. So this is the one that, so those apertures, basically we calculate the window to our ratio, and then we insert the opening in the center. If you only want the window to our ratio of the aperture, um, and not the detailed geometry. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself,
Hi.
Devanshi.
Hi. So, what about the frame thickness? Do you think that gets transferred over from Revit to
So
eQuest?
it depends on the, as a number, no. So that's the one that I was talking about. So you have control. One is, so let's say here when I have window, you see there is glass and sash here for the if you build it as a window. If you have curtain wall, it's only the panel, so it doesn't have anything of the frame. Here, if the frame material is different, you can select if you want it to be included as part of the aperture or not. But we have objects for frame in HPJSON. So again, if it's something that you can assign and it's important during the process, it's something that's possible to add. So again, we are trying to understand what are the main pain point that really slows. So again, the best place, if you want to continue the conversation, either send us an email or create a discussion, a topic on Discourse. We can continue the conversation there. Right now, we don't. And can you confirm that I understood this correctly, that there is a field to add the frame thickness in eQuest?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So
answer
it's
that
not about if glass size. Okay, great. Yes. That's something, but I don't think we can do it automatically necessarily, but you can at least assign the number for every type that you have here, and then we can use that to export it. So that's probably the
It's
best
not.
workflow.
It's not super critical as well. I mean,
Okay.
we can add that once I get the window to wall ratio right in the eQuest model. So
Okay,
that's
awesome. Thank you. Great to know. Okay. Is there anything? Can we maybe have this model, another one of the study it and test? Oh, absolutely. I just said, like, I'm going to upload them to GitHub right after this recording. I'll upload it in GitHub, and we include the link in a follow-up email. And again, I think like we will post something on Discourse too. So the best place, if you haven't, I think, go and make an account on Pollination and log into discourse, so we can keep you posted on all the announcement. We are a very what's called considerate company, let's say. We're not going to spam you with so many emails. It's only you get emails for announcements, and maybe you get an email every week or every other week about the major things that we have changed or the major new releases. Yes, we'll share the model so you can see everything. Okay, with that, I think we can probably wrap it up unless there is any other question. No questions here. Then thank you so much, everyone, for joining. You know where to find us. Keep the questions coming. Everything that you have done, really appreciate you both to come and also ask all these questions. And we are looking forward with your help to basically like address this issue of redrawing geometries from scratch. Let's not do that. I think we are very close, and we just need some help from you to get it there. I mean, it's already there, I think, to get it close to perfect. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.